She was a billionaire CEO who believed money could buy anything, even pride. He was a homeless stranger who looked like he had nothing left to lose. But when she mocked him to fly her helicopter and win her hand, she never imagined the man she humiliated once ruled the skies. This is HB Vibes, your home for shocking and emotional war stories. Hit like, smash that subscribe, and let's dive into the drama. What started as a cruel joke soon unraveled into a truth that would shatter her arrogance, melt her heart, and rewrite both their destinies forever. The city skyline shimmered under a late afternoon sun, gold-like gliding over glass towers and glinting against the blades of a silent helicopter parked atop the headquarters of Astarian Industries. Inside, the atmosphere was tense but elegant, the kind of tension that only power and pride could create. Amara Bennett, the 32-year-old CEO of the billion-dollar aviation firm, stood near the helipad railing in her tailored suit. She was known for her brilliance and sharp tongue, respected, feared, and never wrong. Today, she was furious. A crucial pilot had resigned hours before a high-profile demonstration flight for investors. Her dream project, the Falcon X-1 hybrid chopper, was supposed to prove her leadership after taking over from her late father. And now, everything was collapsing. Security guards had found a scruffy-looking man wandering near the hangar earlier, a man who claimed to know a thing or two about helicopters. Out of sheer frustration and disbelief, Amara had ordered him brought up. The man was tall, lean, dressed in torn clothes, his face rugged but his eyes calm and strangely deep. "What's your name?" Amara asked sharply. "Daniel," he said quietly. "Daniel Cole, you're a mechanic," she pressed. He gave a faint smile. Something like that, her lips curved into a sarcastic grin. "Perfect, then maybe you'd like to impress me. Fly this chopper, and I'll marry you." Her voice was full of mockery. The guards chuckled under their breath. She didn't mean it, of course. It was just another jab, a release of stress and pride. But Daniel didn't laugh. His expression stayed calm. His gaze met hers steadily. "Deal," he said softly. For the first time in years, Amara felt her heart skip. Daniel stepped closer to the helicopter, his hands brushing the polished metal as though greeting an old friend. He moved with quiet confidence, not like someone who had stumbled onto a rooftop by chance, but like someone who belonged there. The guards exchanged uncertain glances. Amara folded her arms. "You do know this isn't a toy," she mocked. "One wrong move, and it'll eat you alive." "I know," he said simply. Then he opened the cockpit door and climbed in. The way he checked the controls, methodically, precisely, was uncanny. His fingers moved like those of a trained pilot. Amara watched, curiosity breaking through her irritation. Within seconds, the engines hummed to life. The rotors began to spin, slicing through the golden light. Her laughter died. The chopper lifted gracefully off the pad, hovering steady, smooth, every motion exact. He wasn't guessing, he was mastering it. The wind whipped around her hair as she stared upward, disbelief widening her eyes. The stranger maneuvered the aircraft in perfect arcs, then landed it so gently that the tires barely kissed the ground. Silence. Amara could only whisper, "Who are you?" Daniel stepped out, eyes glinting with something unreadable. "Just someone who remembers what flying feels like," he said. Then, without another word, he turned to leave. That night, Amara couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the stranger's calm expression in the way he commanded her helicopter. She had mocked him, and he turned her words into something unforgettable. The next morning, she ordered her assistant to find him. The search led to a nearby shelter downtown, where Daniel was known to occasionally volunteer. When Amara arrived, she didn't find the lost, helpless man she'd imagined. She found him fixing an old generator, surrounded by kids who clearly admired him. "Miss Bennett," he greeted without surprise, wiping his hands. "Didn't think I'd see you here. You flew that helicopter like you built it," she said, cutting straight to the point. "Who are you really?" Daniel hesitated. Then he said quietly, "I used to work in the industry." "A long time ago. Which company?" she asked. He smiled faintly. "Yours." Amara froze. He continued, "Your father hired me 12 years ago. I was part of the Falcon project's prototype team." Her breath caught. Her father's project. Her legacy. Daniel was one of the engineers her company had lost track of after a tragic testing accident years ago. She'd heard rumors, a helicopter crash, a death, but the reports had been incomplete. "You were declared dead," she whispered. "Maybe I was," he said softly. "After the crash, I wasn't the same man. Lost my family, my home, everything." But I couldn't stop fixing things, it's what I do. Over the next few weeks, Amara found excuses to meet him again, technical consultations, she called them. But the truth was simpler. She wanted to understand him. Daniel didn't talk much, but when he did, it was thoughtful, measured. He carried a sadness she couldn't name, but beneath it, there was strength. He started helping her team fine-tune the Falcon X1. Under his guidance, the hybrid engine's flaws disappeared one by one. The same men who had mocked him now watched him with respect. For the first time in her career, Amara felt humbled and grateful. One evening, as they stood by the helipad, the city lights twinkling below, she said quietly, "I shouldn't have said what I did that day. It was wrong." Daniel gave a small smile. "I've been called worse. Words don't define people, actions do." Something in his tone made her chest tighten. "You really loved flying, didn't you?" she asked. He nodded, looking at the horizon. "It used to mean freedom. Then I lost it, but maybe some things find their way back." Their eyes met, and for a moment, neither could look away. 2 days before the investor flight, a powerful storm rolled over the city. Visibility dropped, winds roared, and the test pilot refused to take off. Amara stood at the edge of the hangar, desperate. Investors were already on their way. Canceling wasn't an option. It would ruin everything she had built. Daniel appeared beside her, drenched but calm. "You'll lose millions if you call it off," he said quietly. "And my reputation if we crash," she replied. He looked at the helicopter, then at her. "Let me fly it," she turned to him sharply. "Daniel, no, the winds. I've flown through worse," he said simply. For a long moment, she stared at him. She saw not the man who had walked in from the streets, but the pilot, the engineer, the man who had already once given everything for this dream. Finally, she nodded. "Then we fly together," she said. The rotors roared to life, slicing through sheets of rain. Lightning flashed across the clouds as the Falcon X1 lifted off the pad. Amara's hands gripped the console, her heart pounding. Daniel sat beside her, steady, composed. "Trust the wind," he murmured. "It doesn't fight you unless you fight it first." Under his control, the helicopter moved with grace, almost dancing through the storm. He guided it up above the clouds, where the sky opened into a breathtaking ocean of stars. Amara gasped softly. "It's beautiful," he smiled. "Always is. You just have to rise above the storm to see it." For a moment, everything was still, the chaos below, the quiet above, and two people who had found something neither expected. When they landed, drenched and shaking but safe, the investors erupted in applause. The Falcon X1 had proven itself. But for Amara, the real victory wasn't in the applause, it was in the quiet glance Daniel gave her. A look that said thank you for believing again. Weeks later, Amara invited Daniel back to the rooftop, the same spot where everything began. The city was calm, the air soft with evening light. "I have something for you," she said, handing him a worn envelope. Inside were reinstatement papers, his old position restored with full honors. "You don't owe me that," he said gently. "I do," she replied. "You reminded me why my father started this company, not to build machines but to inspire people." He looked at her, emotion flickering in his eyes. "You've changed, Amara," she smiled faintly. "Maybe I just finally learned to listen." Then, with a glint of mischief, the echo of her old arrogance, softened by warmth, she added, "So, do I still owe you a marriage proposal?" Daniel laughed, the first real laughter she'd ever heard from him. "Let's just say, let's keep flying first." As the sun dipped below the horizon, the Falcon X1 shimmered beside them, a symbol of second chances, courage, and redemption. For Amara Bennett and Daniel Cole, the journey had begun with mockery, but it ended with understanding. Sometimes, the people we underestimate are the ones who remind us how to soar again. If you felt the heartbeat of this story, give it a like, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to HB Vibes, where every story carries a lesson for the soul.